Welcome everybody. Today I have a review for Levithan. I have a really hard time pronouncing that word for some reason. This is an Image title. It's the first issue of a new ongoing series. Well, I think 5 issue miniseries since since all newer titles pretty much go into miniseries now just to make sure they can close up a story before having to be canceled or whatever. At least that's the way I interpret it. But it seems like every new title you see is usually part of a limited series instead of just being an ongoing series. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and review this book. This is basically the story of a guy who a monster, a giant Leviathan monster, pops up and starts attacking his town, and he has to try to save his girl. And yeah, that's about as much story as you're gonna get in this issue. I remember reading the premise, and it sounded pretty interesting because the premise added some extra stuff that I can't remember right this second. But then when I read the issue, it was like false advertisement, like maybe that stuff comes later, but you should have the stuff that happens in the first issue and being your synopsis. You know what I mean? Um, I forget. I'm trying to remember what it was, but they had some kind of hook on the synopsis that really made me want to try this book out. But then when I read it, that hook wasn't in there. It wasn't included in the first part of the story. So I was like, oh. But overall, this book is very, very below average in my opinion. I really didn't like the art. It was very ugly in my opinion. All the character designs just look terrible in my opinion. They all just very, I don't even know how to put it. They just look ugly, like just disfigured and ugly and just not appealing. And like the main guy character, he keeps looking like a woman every time I see his face up close in the panel, like his lips and stuff. It just looks like he's like a woman, and I don't understand it. Also, there's this isn't really a big deal, but there's some random weird panel designs, like this one right here where he's opening his refrigerator and you see like fruit and stuff that's falling off the panel into the next one, and it's taking up a part of the scene of the next panel. That's not a big deal. It was just something that was kind of odd and was very distracting, honestly. The few times it pops up, because it pops up a few times in the book. And I understand it's artistic, creative thing to do in a book, and it's kind of interesting. It's different, but I just found myself being more distracted by it and just like, okay, this is just happening. It doesn't really make sense why his fruit's falling into the next picture, but okay. The monster itself was pretty cool. Every time it popped up, in a panel, it was pretty well detailed. That was probably the best the art got, was when it was showing the monster. Other than that, the art was just not good. Just really cluttered and just ugly looking to me. Again, I emphasize that part. There were some characters in this story that just seemed stupid and kind of stereotypical, like placeholder archetypes. And there's one guy called Golf. What was his name? Like Golf Johnny or something like that, or it was just a silly character, and he's the one that actually calls forth the monster by using his D&D spell book or whatever, which just felt very unrealistic and just kind of silly premise overall. And the girlfriend, she just seemed like a shadow character. I don't know. It just none of the characters, even the main character, were pulling me in, making me like them. The writing didn't really seem like it would make the writing didn't make me want to like them. Overall, I can't recommend this one. The poor art, the poor story structure and world building, and setup. It's almost non-existent, honestly. Uh, I mean, yeah, I get what they're going for. It's just kind of like a cool monster story, and they do some self-awareness stuff with, the fact that the story opens up with all the people going to watch a movie marathon of kaiju movies, which are monster movies. But the comedy really wasn't there either. Like, I mean, there's a few jokes, but I didn't really feel like any of them really landed, honestly. So I mean, this is probably my first book I'm gonna give a 1 to, and so yeah, I'll give this a 1 out of 5, and see you guys later. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think about this book if you read it. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let me know.